Yeah, good evening, my people. Thank you very much once again. For a while now, this weekend I was a little bit off town, and I'm just coming in this day, and that is why I'm doing this very video late this time. But it's also necessity that I have to do it. There's a lot of information now about the raid in Nnamdi Kanu's house, which has come as no surprise to any one of us. If you are following what has been happening seriously, you'll find that you know that what happened was not far-fetched. It's something that Nnamdi Kanu himself should also have been waiting for. Because when you pull the strings to that extent, you expect actions like this. But the most apparent thing of it all is the response that we got or we saw on the action that the Nigerian government took. Now, we saw that the response was very, very shabby, so to say. Even to the last command of Nnamdi's defense. According to the videos that we saw right at the time it was happening, you saw that he was defenseless. There was no security of any sort. There was no measures for that at all. And you start to wonder, how ready was this guy? And how has he been thinking all along on what he's doing? Now, so many of our boys are dead again. The same thing we keep crying out for, the same thing that we are so much against every day, so that this kind of loss of life will not continue. Now you can see even the security Nnamdi Kanu said is as good as useless. There was no formal training for these kids. There were no weapons, nothing for them themselves. When it started to happen, everybody was on his own. Even the guy who was there with the camera at that very point, the video we saw, had no formal training. There were no equipment for them to guide themselves in case an event like this occur, which is not far-fetched. It's one that shouldn't be confusing, or we should not be surprised today that the army raided Nnamdi Kanu's house. Because we saw how he was going about the whole thing. The guy who was taking the video was crying out because of tear gas. These are the people who are to be the final security post, guiding their so-called supreme leader. The boys became completely confused. Everybody started running helter-skelter on their own. Then the army of Nigeria did their business, killing our people, armless boys, for no good reason. And today, Nnamdi Kanu himself is nowhere to be seen. It's unfortunate that we allow this kind of things to happen. There's nothing at this point, anybody, we don't have no voice as a people that is speaking for us. That is why our people are going through this mess. It was a very big disgrace that upon all the noise, upon all the strength that Nnamdi Kanu showed, there was no planning of any sort to safeguard himself in case a time like this happens. There are so many people now, so many articles online, some to his advantage and some other ones to his disadvantage. I mean, really meaningful ones. If you read the ones, the people who support or who are somewhat in line with or showing sympathy to Nnamdi Kanu, you will find reasons to believe at least a part of what they're saying. But if you also read those who are against or what he has done, who sees everything has been planless, you also see reason why they see it that way. And that is what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to use the automated machine to read some comments that I find very interesting, at least two of them that are on opposite views about what happened and how Nnamdi Kanu has fumbled again. Before, maybe by tomorrow, I will come out to give my own opinion on the whole thing. This very right up here is by one of our brother, Kelechi Mba Nazi Babnazi. He wrote this very article here, very interesting. I will read it with the automated machine now so that we get a sense of what he's saying. And lastly, I will read another one that is going contrary to that supports, that says that Nnamdi Kanu has won no matter whatever happens to him today. These are views of people to what just transpired. So this very one is interesting. Listen to it.
Nnamdi Kanu, the acclaimed leader of IPOB, was not supposed to be in any hiding, never. The fact that he is not operating openly now tells you all something. He is on the wrong side of this agitation again. The struggle for self-determination, even if possible, transcends beyond an individual. Kanu was advised to rally around the traditional and political leaders of the South. As an Igbo man, I was taught honor, respect, love, self-giving, and honesty by my parents and the community where I grew up. You cannot bring a fight inside the house. If you do, such a person is considered a fool. When Kanu was released, he enjoyed the encomiums of the majority of Nigerians who saw the federal government's lawless detention as evil and unconstitutional because he never committed any crime to be locked up for 2 years. He was hosted by senators and governors. His father's house became a mecca of sought. He enjoyed the people's patronage. Not until the butterfly started thinking himself a bird, the self-aggrandizement overwhelmed him so much that he declared there would not be any election in Anambra, and his reasons? Because Kanu said so.
This is very, very good reasoning, and it's truth about what just happened. Nnamdi Kanu had the opportunity to turn the page completely around, to take the Biafran people to the next step. But he fumbled, he missed it again. What you are hearing here is exactly how I felt, what I thought that is the only way Nnamdi could have gone about this, and he become that hero that he really praised for. Well, unfortunately, his ego, like it's rightly written here, a butterfly thought himself a bird. He was overwhelmed by the reception, what he saw, what he never believed happened to him. So he was carried, and that is why he's on the run today. Nnamdi is supposed to make history in the release from prison was a gift, an opportunity for him to become what he really wants. But that is another way, another thing to that. Also, if you look at it closely, and if you've been following Nnamdi from the onset, and also if you have been following my videos as around 2012 and or 2013, you found out when I really analyze who I believe, and today I am reassuring myself of my belief that I was right, who he is. This is a person who has a strong will for Biafra. Nnamdi Kanu is a person who has a strong belief for Biafra. But because of what Biafra is meant to be, because the Biafra is the beginning of the kingdom of God on earth. For we are living in the last days. The emergence of Biafra, what it represents, makes it a fight between good and evil, God and demon, God and devil. For a nation that will establish the holiness of God to emerge in the face of the planet that is ruled by Lucifer is going to be war. And that is the reason why we are going through all this. And if Lucifer is going to fight with God, we know how he always does it. He goes into that head, that very thing that is going to be the engine of whatever you are looking for. That's where he appears and that's where he manipulates. He goes into the heart of somebody he believes is very passionate of Biafra, induce him, gave him powers. The person still continues to believe that he's still passionate and doing the right thing, not knowing that he has been carried, that he has been overtaken. That's what happened to Nnamdi Kanu. That's why Nnamdi Kanu, as I rightly identified his problem in my 2012 or 13 video, this guy is possessed by an evil spirit. And that is why you see him winning. Because the evil spirit will give you the power, it will give you the blessings, it will give you the luck, it will give you those winning opportunities that will help you governize people around you to make you accomplish this own mission, which is against Biafra. Not what your mind tells you. What I'm saying is, if you go deep down, Nnamdi Kanu, he sees himself as somebody who really wants to actualize Biafra. From the deep down breadth of his heart, he sees himself as doing the right thing. People like it or not, whether it is popular or not, sometimes you see that it carries him over to the next step. He finds himself out being a winner. So he believes he's doing the right thing for Biafra while the devil has already conquered him. Sometimes his imaginary friends, he cannot differentiate between reality and his fantasies. That is the situation of Nnamdi Kanu, for those who are interested to know that. And this is manifesting again. That is why there is no formal cordial plan from this guy to get Biafra. I will continue to read that very statement because it falls in line with what I know about Nnamdi Kanu. We'll continue.
He brought the battle into his home. He started receiving genuflection as a tiny god he approved himself of, and even Senator Abarib, who was among the people that signed.
When you hear Senator Abarib, that's Senator Abaribe. It's a machine calling it that way. I hope you forgive me for that, but we'll continue.
His Baal Shirdi couldn't speak reason into his skull. He spoke to him. Eastern governors and some traditional rulers spoke to him. He was too pompous to apply wisdom, humility, and honor, but he wants others to accord him the same. Now, all those people who would have stood behind him are doubtful of his intentions, so they stay clear of him. Now that they have started chasing him, where will he run into? Lack of wisdom now, this is his sin. The moment he commissioned the local army on record, posted it out on social media and spoke openly at a rally about the need to have the Biafra secret force, he failed from grace. He not only entered into the nest orchestrated by the Nigeria state, he ignited the article in the Constitution of Nigeria that prohibits anyone from organizing an army against the sovereignty. Whether you like it or not, Nigeria is a sovereignty. Biafra is not and was never, so it is not even a conquered territory. We reached out to Kanu, advised him to be cautious and apply wisdom. He never listened. He cursed everyone who disagreed with him. We are all Efulafu. He cut off his communication channel with those who would have helped. Instead of calling for the boycott of Anambra election, even when you are not from Anambra, you could have channeled that energy to become a political force in the East. Compel your followers to come out in masse and vote in the election and ensure that they elect a credible non-corrupt governor and House assemblies.
And that was the game. That is just that game I was talking about. Nnamdi came out and the devil misplaced his sense of understanding, his sense of reasoning. This guy got the whole attention he needed. This guy got support that a man could pledge for. He had the opportunity to speak with whatever your position is in the country, governors, senators, House of Representatives, even likely if you had moved towards the right direction, he will have that opportunity to have a one-on-one with the president, channeling your ideas rightfully, and by so doing, having your taproot as one of the elites and the spokesmen in the country, and achieving your aim. Nnamdi Kanu could have channeled his energy to supporting the political elite, to game with them, even if you don't believe what they believe. But you had opportunity with the small boys and girls all over, our sons and daughters that have been supporting, that has nothing. He gained that asset to the bigger men, to the authorities, to the law of the nation. He could have stepped into that. It's all about negotiations. When Nnamdi got the opportunity to have a negotiation with the governors, that is, in a negotiation, you have to give in some of your own things and take some from your opponents. That's what you do. You might go in there. The only thing was for him to denounce his statement of no use of political means, but he never wanted to offend his base, those young men and women that support him. But he forgot that those men and women will always follow him if he did little negotiations as to bring peace, and also channeling him towards that very freedom movement. If Nnamdi could have told the people, okay, after he went into that meeting with the governors and came out to say, right now, we are going to face them in their own game. They say it's politics. We are going to play politics now. We are now out for politics. We are now going to put in our own people. If Nnamdi had made that statement, he wouldn't have lost any of these guys. They would have followed him. And in that same vein, he could have won over other cats from those in the political field, in the business class. Everybody now, he could have been in the game. And believe me, Anambra State could have gotten a Biafra-minded governor. He will try as much as possible with that to replicate this effort in Anambra State all over the region. And Nnamdi will be able to say he is the live as a godfather. Now we watch his house that was raided. If you are using such force, if you are in such disagreement with your own people, how can you be living such comfort? You can only live in that comfort if you know you are in agreement with the rest of the people and going about the search of freedom in a peaceful way, this time in support of the people, both the small and the high class. If you make such utterances that Nnamdi made, you should remove your family out of this whole circumstance. There should not be a home of such for them to raid, where you have luxurious things, family, young boys, small people, every kind of normal human individuals who are living in that compound. You put all these people, all these relations of yours in harm's way and make such utterances. People who make such utterances live in cages. They remove their wives, their families, their fathers, their mothers out of harm's way and live in cages. Now look at, according to the video we saw, they are surprised that the army came and they scattered everything in the house. They are showing us and say, look at how this, it wasn't a pleasant visit. We know what happens when the army comes to ransack your place. So what is the surprise about that? We can always also see that the last chain of security Nnamdi has was also that is, they had nothing. They have nothing with them. The boys themselves become confused. It became a thing of Onyenankia, the master and the servants, running scatter. The last command of the Supreme Council, what they call himself, the Supreme Leader of Biafra, the last command chain of his security was completely harmless. Nothing. They went through no form of training. The guy who was videoing the whole event was crying of tear gas. He couldn't see anymore. There were no protective measures for them. There were no only sticks in the last security post. Could you imagine that there were no trench and even bunkers for escaping, for going from one place to another? Could you believe that all the while Nnamdi enjoyed all this big, massive crowd fellowship? There were no construction of any kind of security, any kind of thing that makes any kind of sense. Instead, you throw out those aggressive words, those abusive languages, and you live in a comfortable house with family, children, and you are surprised when you are being attacked by the Nigerian government. Worst of all, surprised how they scattered the whole house as if when the military comes, it's a pleasure trip. Unfortunate. I said it the other day. For Nnamdi to start using walker stick, walking stick is what he's using now to walk, falling back to those kind of attitude of those men that we don't believe in. Now using a coupe. To turn back to Onyeze at the time you've not even gotten to your mission. That was not the step of somebody that is on the mission to lead us to that game. When I saw, I've been watching this guy, I've been trying to give him benefits of doubt. When he came out from prison also, I made another video that gave him a 3 position, spiritual wise, that is what it is. You have 3 years to decide where you want to be at that point. I gave him that benefit of that. There was a lot of things Nnamdi could do if he want to remain relevant on the struggle. If Nnamdi wanted to go about the struggle in this very way he just did, after his release, he should have, from the onset, forget about his Nigerian passport, British passport, find a way and leave the nation quietly from the backyard to any other African or even European nation and take an asylum this time as somebody who is on the run for his life. When he gets an asylum, he can establish again from there now and start channeling the same talk. So that you don't put your family, you don't put your relatives, the whole village in danger. You stay out and propagate this kind of abuse down on people, the government, and deceit on the Igbo masses, young boys and girls. You stay off like you were in London broadcasting. That's the thing you could have done. Go out to another African nation, maybe Cameroon, Ghana, who knows where. But that was one chance. If he wanted to go about it the way he's going about it now, the way that has just endangered the life of people around him and even innocent people that have nothing to do with anything concerning him as a person. Now, another thing he could have done is to face Nigeria with their own game. Challenge all the governors in a responsible manner. By going into their game, you know that is why some of them came and removed you from prison, signed for your bail. You must have to negotiate also. You must have to give out something for what the effort they did on your behalf. That's how the world works. When you come, you humiliate, you underestimate every other person. The payback is that everybody is going to vacate from you. And that is what's happening. Nnamdi is telling us on that very same video that they have taken his father away. They have taken his father away. He's complaining of taking his father away when we are losing children. We are losing human beings. Families that will never see their sons and daughters again. Nnamdi is complaining that they took his father away. He put his father in harm's way. His father supposedly supported what he was doing. So we continue to read from the very article that we are reading from.
Knowing that every power in politics is local, you would have scored.
No, we have to find a very good interval so that we can make sense of it correctly. If we want to start again, start from here. Instead of calling for a boycott, what he should have done.
Instead of calling for the boycott of Anambra election, even when you are not from Anambra, you could have channeled that energy to become a political force in the East. Compel your followers to come out in masse and vote in the election and ensure that they elect a credible non-corrupt governor and House assemblies. Knowing that every power in politics is local, you would have scored a gigantic political win right there, and the federal government will start taking you seriously. You ensure that the same thing in Anambra is replicated in all the southeastern and the south-southern states. Unseat all these criminal senators, house members, governors, and let us have our own devoted people represent us for once. No, Nnamdi was so arrogant that he forgot his culture. Anambra of all places, the home of Azikiwe, where we have the timbers and calibers of the East, they saw his affront as an insult. Just there alone, Kanu diminished his patronage among Eastern elders who would have been his backbone. Elders stays that watch as they send the young to battle. In the course of my career, I have seen deaths, people who died in the face of war and the earth refused to bury them, their carcass decaying that even vultures were so full that they could not feed any more. I have seen men, real men, rebels in the face of war, their skulls shattered, their bones and legs ripped off, some bled to their death, but among all, there is nothing like the sight of an amputated spirit. Ha ha ha, there is no prosthetic for that. Every single information coming out of his house was fake news propaganda, that the UN did this or that was all lie. We are here at the UN headquarters and never a time has any issue about Biafra brought to bear in any open sessions, General Assembly, Security Council consultations, never. But our gullible hard-working brothers whom he met at home never wanted to listen, they believed his lies. The agitation must be seen as non-violent as possible. The flagrant disregard of any advice was appalling. In the scheme of things, you need strategists, advisors, foreign policy analysts, intel ops, and lots of professionals to sit down and drive a master plan. Kanu assumed all these responsibilities and was very bad at them.
Yes.
So far, you can see that he is not a strategist, knows very little about building coalitions within and outside Nigeria.
Yes.
I mean coalitions of friendly countries who can reason with the cause.
Yeah.
On many occasions, he switched off his phone because he is a stubborn overlord. Look at the carnage he has caused, and where is he now? In hiding. There wouldn't have been any need to hide. He should have been entering the villa and House of Assembly, lobbying and strategizing. That's how wise men win.
Yes.
Remember, she stopped to conquer the Facebook warriors who are good at calling people names on Facebook and cannot have dialogue and reason together. Over to you. Let your name calling continue. How many people are dead now because of Kanu's irresponsible stubbornness? And among all those deaths, none of his family members are involved. Okay. Now the government of Nigeria has categorized IPOB as a terrorist organization. That's what you get when you start to organize an army. It's going to be tougher for Easterners who are travelers. My advice, if you wish to travel outside Nigeria, clean up your social media platforms. You could be turned back at any point of entry because of what the federal government just did. Final words. All of you that are noisemakers on social media, have you ever thought of something very cowardly possible? That Nnamdi Kanu may have been paid off to quash the Biafra struggle once and for all? That all these charades were staged? Ha 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 HAAA. Why did he object against any good advice to go about this struggle perfectly and legitimately? He came back from the UK, was arrested by the Nigerian government that is more or like subservient to the British lords. Ndi Igbo, wake up before the water reaches your necks. If we fail to apply wisdom in settling our impasse, we will all perish as fools. I am not going to perish because I see things differently. I don't wish anyone death. Can we now wear our thinking cap? Now? I mean now. The truth is gradually unveiling.
Yeah, that is a very hard-fetched truth. And that could have been the survival of Nnamdi Kanu if he was being led by the true God. The devil works in a very tricky way. We know that. And is using Nnamdi Kanu to do the job of hindering Biafran actualization without Nnamdi Kanu knowing it. It's because he is so visible, a poor soul, a hungry soul, is easily being used. The devil gives you the power, the devil gives you the ability, the devil gives you the wins. All those winning that makes people believe you are the man. That is what just happened. Nnamdi Kanu is a man who is possessed. I've said it before. He has very big evil powers that works for him and is deceiving him, leading Biafra astray. Although in his rightful mind, he believes that he's doing the right thing because he himself is being deceived by a greater force, the force that is greater than every other human, the force of the devil that wants to stop